Hey everyone, I'm Jay.
And I'm Sean.
And we watch movies.
Yes, we do.
We watch a lot of movies. Today we're going to talk about actually a very sad thing. One of our favorite actors, Sir Sean Connery.
One of everyone's favorite actors,
yes,
I think.
Clearly. Passed away on Saturday, October 31st. He was 90 years old. He died in the Bahamas where he lived with his wife. And he had been out of the spotlight for some time, retired.
He was
from
retired,
acting.
and
Yes.
he had made that stick.
That's right.
Despite, I'm sure, a lot of calls of, please come do this movie.
That's right, including Skyfall. Sam Mendes and the producers thought very hard about having him cameo. And I think eventually realized it would be quite distracting. Like people would be
that would be the
so
thing about the movie.
to go see, that they eventually cast Albert Finney in the role, and there was no cameo, which may be for the best.
I think when you're talking about Bond, Sean Connery is James Bond for so many people. It's hard to have that.
And according to math, that I won't get into with you right now, Sean, but he is the most handsome James Bond.
Okay, well, if math says it, then
it does. Not for
true.
nothing, Daniel Craig is the least handsome.
Which I think is agreed upon in the James Bond franchise.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy that gets punched in the face a lot.
And nobody's that mad about it because it wasn't that pretty. But Sean Connery did think he was a good Bond.
Sean Connery thought Daniel Craig was a good Bond.
Yes.
I think Daniel Craig is a good Bond.
He also thought that Pierce Brosnan was a good Bond.
Well, Pierce Brosnan was a good Bond.
Yes.
I agree with both of those.
Okay. He did not think everyone was a good Bond.
Well, not everyone is. That's why there's so many of them.
Fair enough. So he sadly passed away. Although when you live to 90, I don't know if it's super sadly.
I think he had a good life.
A nice life, yeah. But of course, the world of cinema will miss him, has missed him, and yet he leaves behind a considerable legacy.
He does. He worked a long time.
He did, and made a lot of very popular movies. So I did challenge Sean to talk about his top 5, which is maybe a hard thing to narrow it down to just 5 for Sean. Because Sean Connery does a lot of movies that Sean Taylor really enjoys. So Sean, why don't you share your top 5 with us?
So number 5 on my list of best Sean Connery roles is Highlander.
Oh. Okay, exciting.
Which I have tried to make Jay watch, and she has outright refused, and I can't blame her. But Highlander is just one of the most awesome movies that a 12-year-old can ever see.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
Because the whole point of Highlander is that there are these immortals that are just running around, and they're fighting each other to the death until there's just one left.
Oh.
And to kill each other...
Wait a minute.
They have to cut off each other's heads.
Darn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
And every time they do, they get more powerful.
Ooh.
So Sean Connery's not even the main guy in this movie.
Oh.
But he trains the main guy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I see.
He's just this Spaniard that just loves riding horses and swordplay.
And that's not a euphemism?
No, that's not a euphemism.
Well, then I don't know if it's the fantasy of every 12-year-old girl, but anyways.
Oh, no, I'm sure not.
All right, Highlander.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 5.
Coming in at number
Hot
5.
take.
Number 4, The Hunt for Red October.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
okay.
love it. It's such a fun movie, and how good is it that they're just like, we're going to have a Russian submarine captain defect to America? Let's give him a Scottish accent.
You know, I don't even know that the writers came up with that so much as the casting people.
But we're just like, we're not going to be apologetic about it at all. No. We're just going to, Sean Connery.
And did that ruin the movie for you?
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if you have an accent, every French person just speaks English with a French accent, and every Russian person just speaks English with a... No, that's already ridiculous. So why do we even bother with the accents?
Why do we?
Yeah.
It is kind of stupid.
Ridiculous, yeah.
So I'm glad that they did not
Okay.
try and have him have a Russian accent. He just talked. And he was just as awesome as ever.
Well, listen, he has been voted as the #1 sexiest voice in Hollywood, so you don't change that up. You don't cast the sexiest voice and ask him to do a Russian accent. All right?
All right, I'm with it.
All right.
Number 3, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Okay.
So this is one that I have made you watch very recently.
Yes, and I'm surprised this is even at number 3, so it's exciting to find out what 1 and 2 are, but you have made me see this one.
I have. So Sir Sean Connery plays Indiana Jones's dad, and they go on a huge adventure because the elder Dr. Jones loves the Holy Grail. And so, of course, why not search for it with his son?
Well, that's very sweet.
It is kind of sweet, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, there's more circumstances than that, as you realize, but that's the essence of that film. So it's
Just
very
a nice father-son bonding vacation.
adventure, being chased by Nazis.
Well, you know, every family vacation has...
A few ups and downs.
That's
yeah.
right.
So that's that.
Okay.
Number 2, The Rock.
Oh my God, what's going to be number 1? I don't even know, guys. Okay, The Rock.
So in The Rock, Sean Connery plays basically a spy
Basically.
who escaped from Alcatraz, and then it was covered up. And so he's been...
Yeah, because I thought nobody's ever escaped from Alcatraz.
That's right. So to preserve that reputation, the U.S. government just threw him in some underground unknown prison for like ever. 30, 40 years, however the math works out, between like 1960 something and 1996.
Okay.
But then when Ed Harris takes hostages at Alcatraz, how are they going to break in except to recruit the help of the one man who's escaped, plus the foremost chemical weapon expert, Nicolas Cage.
Whew, okay.
I mean, obviously this was...
Not super sure how we got there, but sure.
That's
Okay.
It's an obvious solution to an uncommon problem.
Obvious, yes, okay.
So Sean Connery is awesome. And he's awesome in everything, obviously. But this is, I think, elder Sean Connery at his best. And still as an action hero at whatever age he would have been then, like 60, late 60s. It's awesome.
Very good.
And number 1 is every James Bond movie that he has ever been in.
Okay.
Because he was...
Every James Bond movie?
Every James Bond movie that he's in is good.
Okay.
It's varying degrees of good. But he is such a good James Bond that he doesn't, in my view, have a bad James Bond movie, which is pretty rare. Because there's also a lot of bad James Bond movies.
Sure, of course. Well, I know people were not always convinced that he would make the best Bond. They thought he was maybe a little too roguish, too rough. He was the black choice of the 60s, I guess.
I guess. It's funny to think
Too
back
urban,
now.
too street.
Yeah.
No, but he was a big guy, but he also, he was pretty suave.
Yes, he
He was pretty elegant.
Yes, he was.
He really could, he was a bit of a chameleon. He really could cut both figures well. So,
Yeah.
Bond leaves enormous shoes to fill. And,
It does. He made that franchise.
yeah.
I mean,
For sure.
other people took it and ran with it in different ways. And without him, though, I don't think Bond would be a thing.
Well, he was the one who improvised the most famous line, Bond, James Bond. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
That was just an improvisation on set. But he thought the line, I am James Bond, was a little bland.
And he was right.
He was right.
He was so right that we can't imagine any other way.
And he, loved playing Bond. He always said that James Bond should get as much credit as any Shakespearean character you might play, because there is a craft to coming up with your version of his backstory and making the character feel like a real person, but also a super spy.
Yeah.
Which obviously he did. He had that mystique to him. And a charisma, I think, that he brought to all of his movies.
Guaranteed.
But definitely at one point he took a bit of a break, did some other stuff. They lured him back for Diamonds Are Forever with a record-breaking salary at that time. He's probably always going to be the iconic James Bond.
He's an icon. So I think you can have the argument of who is the best. Mm-hmm. And he is always one of the ones you're choosing between.
Okay.
And I think it's always going to be that way forever and ever.
Amen.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Of course, when I think about my favorite Sean Connery roles, I don't need a top 5, I just need a top 1. It's called Playing by Hart. And it is a movie that some of you may know if you're devoted to Sean Connery or romance genre. Because this movie is sort of a romance. A little bit in the vein of like Love Actually, where it's like a lot of stories that kind of web together.
Gotta stay tuned to figure out how they all tie together.
Yes. So it's from the 90s, and it's got actually a very deep cast of people of recognizable names, including Angelina Jolie and Dennis Quaid, Patricia Clarkson. Gina Rowlands plays his wife, Hannah. Gillian Anderson is in this, Madeline Stowe, Jon Stewart, Ryan Phillippe, Amanda Peet, Jay Moore, Anthony Edwards, and of course, Ellen Bernstein. I love her. So Sean Connery and Gina Rowlands play Paul and Hannah. He produces her cooking show, but they're also a married couple. One that I can relate to because they're fond of exchanging barbs with each other. So I like to think that that's the kind of old married couple we will become, because we are that exact kind of young married couple. Perhaps I will be a little mellower in my old age, or maybe I'll just get better at it.
Yeah. Don't mellow.
Well, if you think about my grandmother, there's little chance
That's true.
of mellowing.
That's true.
We just rot. Anyways, it's a very sweet movie. There's a lot of little romances going on. But he wanted to do this movie specifically because he felt like there wasn't a lot of romance for people his age. He was like 69 at the time, I think. Which is fine. In 1999, so that's about the time of the movie, he was named the sexiest man of the century. 10 years previous, in 89, he'd been named the sexiest man of the year, as People magazine always does. But when he was 69, they just called him the sexiest man of the century. So he still had it. He still had it. So he took an enormous pay cut from the movie he had done previous, which was The Rock, and he received $14 million for that one. This one he did for just $60,000 because he wanted to have a romance where old people could still have a love and a passion for each other. Yes. Of course, he made quite a bit of money in his career. He gave away quite a bit of money, and he turned down quite a bit of money. So that record-setting salary for Diamonds Are Forever got donated. So did his salary for Robin Hood, the Prince of Thieves.
I forgot he was even in that.
Yeah. He's been in a lot, but he does have a long film history. That's why it's easy to...
Yeah.
5 is hard to narrow it down to. Anyways, he has been in a lot of movies. He did win an Oscar for supporting actor in The Untouchables. You may remember that one. Although he was dubbed the worst accent in that movie, not even Hunt for Red October. He has been called the greatest living Scot and Scotland's greatest living national treasure. Of course, neither of those things surprises me in the least, although I am a little sad to see the word living in both of those titles and realize he is no longer.
Yep.
But he is, he's no longer the sexiest man alive, but I think we will remember his great charisma and good looks. The thing is, in James Bond, I think it was Goldfinger and beyond, he wore a toupee in the movies. He never did in real life, but according to him, he was starting to bald by the age of 17. And he had no real problem with it, but apparently people felt like James Bond needed to have hair. But Sean Connery did not need hair to be sexy.
No, he did not.
No, he did not. This man contained multitudes. He was in the Royal Navy when he was a young pup. He took dance lessons and martial art lessons. In fact, when he was doing martial arts, he apparently made the instructor so mad that the instructor deliberately hurt him. And he lived with a sore wrist for years before a doctor said, "You broke that wrist years ago. Now we have to re-break it to set it." His instructor turned out to be Steven Seagal. In the days before he was Steven Seagal. So.
I mean, he still was Steven Seagal at that point, obviously.
Obviously. He broke Sean Connery's wrist, so. Anyways. He was knighted. He received the Kennedy Center honors from Bill Clinton. Before he was an actor, he was a nude art model. He was a milk delivery man. He polished coffins. He was a bricklayer, and he competed in Mr. Universe, where he took 3rd place in the tall man category.
The tall man category?
The tall man category. And he is the tallest guy to play James Bond.
Okay, but he's not that tall.
Well, he's 6'2" and 6.62 and 4/10, I think. So
okay. He's not short.
No.
But it's weird that's tall man.
Well, okay.
I guess I'm a little biased.
Sean would like to remind everyone that he is 6'6".
Yeah. Might as well take the opportunity.
It's hard to tell when he's sitting down, but he likes to look down on little 6'2" Sean Connery for not being tall enough.
I just wonder if there's another category for ultra tall, starting at 6'4".
You know what, Sean? Oh, you're insufferable.
Yep.
Sean Connery's favorite role that he ever played was The Man Who Would Be King.
I don't know that one.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'll have to check it out.
I just think it's funny because, obviously, aside from Bond, he's had so many, big, huge movies.
Yes, he has.
But that's his favorite. There are a lot of very big movies in his filmography, but there are actually a lot of big roles that he turned down. He didn't work nearly as much as he could have, but before he moved to the Bahamas, he lived in Spain. He loved Scotland, but didn't want to live there again until it was independent, he always said, which he believed could happen in his lifetime.
Well, it almost did.
It almost did. So he was living in the Bahamas recently, but he lived in Spain for a long, long time, right next door to a golf course where he golfed every single day that he could. So some of these roles he turned down so he could just stay home and keep golfing, including John Hammond in Jurassic Park, Gruber in Die Hard.
Oh, yeah, but I think that worked out well.
Mufasa.
Also worked out well.
Okay. Hannibal Lecter.
No. Sean Connery can't really be a bad guy.
That's what he thinks. He doesn't really like a lot of violence or evil characters. So a lot of these he turned down for exactly that reason. The lead role in the original Thomas Crown Affair, the architect in the Matrix movies.
And that would have been kind of cool, but it's a small role.
Yeah. Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I don't think that would have worked either.
Okay.
He's too powerful historically, physically. I think Gandalf is like a so old, wizened guy.
Okay. Well, he just didn't want to commit to 18 months in New Zealand, so he didn't want to be away from his golf course that long. So that's what he did. But yes, that's our beloved Sean Connery. Lots of great movies there to be watching because you're missing him.
Yeah.
So, take your pick. Have a good watch. Remember a really great man, a very good artist, and I think his legacy will speak for itself. There's so much there that...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, he will be remembered.
He will. No danger of that. So thank you so much for watching. Tell us in the comments what your favorite Sean Connery role is. Take care, everyone. Bye.